Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anna Champong and I'm here to bring you stories from the motherland. I'm surrounded by two siblings and they're here to talk about their company called the Challe Sisters. Let's get into the video. I've been following a lot about the Challe Sisters, but I think it's best for you yourself to introduce the company.
Okay. Well, as the name indicates, the Challe sisters, there's 13, 14 years between us.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so big gap, but we're sisters. We have 7 kids between us. She has 2, I have 5, and we came up with starting our own products or our own line of kids products because we saw that there was a gap in the market in Ghana, and we wanted things specific to our kids.
Okay.
And so we're coming from a very creative family, and we always throw ideas up and down and suggestions. And we were like, well, if we want it and it doesn't exist, how about we just do it ourselves?
Yeah.
And at the time when we were just thinking of doing it, I'd already started sourcing things for my kids to play with. And then she was in Switzerland at the time, and she was also looking for certain products and couldn't find them. So she asked me to make a few things in Ghana and send it back to her. And that's how it sort of evolved gradually.
Yeah. And so what sort of things are we talking about?
So since we started, it has been, like she mentioned, the core of it has been kids' items in and around decoration all the way to educational toys. And then also home decor, everything made in Ghana and having Ghanaian symbolism and cultural references. But moving forward, we're definitely going to be refocusing on why we started, because that's the strongest field for us and what is most lacking as well. So children. So we're toys, again, decor in and around children. So like bed sheets, for example. We'd also be starting into clothing. So pajamas, for example, for children.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. What makes Challe very special is the cultural references.
Okay.
So, for example, we have 2 prints called Chop Time No Friend, which is a very famous thing in Ghana. And then we have Baby Kafu, which is a gala lullaby. So we have illustrations in and around those concepts that are hand printed on our fabric pieces. And then we deal also with woven material to make baskets, for example, or organizers for the kids, organizers for the homes.
Very nice.
Big product range.
So it's like made in Ghana for Ghanaians and for the world.
Yes, exactly.
So where are you from?
I would say Ghana. So both of us were born, partially raised in Ghana. In my sister's case, I was raised in Ghana until 19. And then I left. Brigit left earlier. You have to say the age.
So I left when I was 13, going on 14. And I went to secondary school in Switzerland.
Okay.
But we also went to the Swiss school here in Ghana.
Okay.
So very much in Ghana, but also a bit set aside from mainstream society. So I think that also influences our perspectives on life and how we deal with certain situations or handle even our products.
Okay.
I think the insistence on the finishing and the precision work is very much because of that, our background.
Yeah.
And like she said, there's 14 years between us. And obviously that also means that we grew up quite different, even though we're from the same families, from the same household. So like I said, I was here till 19. I went to 5 different schools. So I had great length of exposure in terms of every kind of schooling system in Ghana, and also every type of exposure in terms of culture. But like she's saying, our background heavily dictates how we produce our products, what we're trying to say with our products. And then there's also the element of sustainability, which is very important for both of us. So like economical sustainability in terms of creating microeconomies and circular economies with our products. And then also in terms of producing products that are biodegradable, raw materials are sourced in a way that doesn't leave huge impacts or huge hole, and giving artisans the ability to work the way we've been working for generations with our hands. So in many respects, the way we grew up influences the way we do business and the things that we are producing.
Yeah. So basically, you're taking away the positive from, let's say, the former times in Ghana, the way they produced and the way they made things, and now taking it back to the future.
Yes, okay, because that's the way forward. I think it's very funny, the dynamic, because in the West now there is more and more a demand for raw, biodegradable, and you're starting to have this slow awakening here of that as well. But the funniest thing is that it is very much in our culture, and not, I mean, past generations past. It's very recent culture and very recent history that artisans work like this, even to present day, but they don't get enough exposure, and it's not as valued in the society anymore. So this is where we're trying to bring that understanding that handmade does not mean lower quality. Handmade does not mean less spend good, on it, or less good. And it doesn't deteriorate anything. In actuality, it is not only sustainable, but it also helps economically for a lot of people to be able to practice what they know. And these are artisans that have learned skills from family, from one of our weavers, for example. I once asked him where he learned how to weave, and he said it was his grandmother, because he grew up in Bolgatanga, and it was like the secondary thing you learn outside of school. So imagine moving into an urban environment and then losing that ability to use your hands to create. It's very impactful on the culture to lose that element. So we call ourselves an artisan collective for many reasons, but especially to bring back that value to handmade products.
I think that's a very good cause, because if you don't know, Accra is very much about plastic and single use and China Mall. Everything is like, I think the middle class sees it as plastic is something very good. Plastic is something new, and the old ways, we don't need that. But I think it's great that you're bringing back what we used to use ourselves and our hands, and sustainability. That is the future. So where can people find you?
So at the time, we are mostly on Instagram. We get a lot of our orders from DMs. We also pop up once in a while in marketplaces like the Bella Freak Market that happens here, or any seasonal events. Like we were just in the Mix during the December time. But what we're trying to do moving forward is very soon there will be an e-commerce site for us, and there will be an ability to purchase it not only in Ghana but worldwide. So this is what we're working towards.
That's so good. And so, if I get it correctly, you're half Swiss.
Swedish.
Half Ghanaian. That's what I was going to say. Half Swiss, half Ghanaian. So how is that being raised in a household with two different sets of cultures and values?
Well, I think it becomes your normal. You know what I mean? You don't really think about it, but you just know that this is where you're from. And just this morning, we were having this discussion, and I said, at the end of the day, you become who you are because of your environment, and not necessarily that, I may be Swiss, or I'm more white, or I'm more black. Or you don't choose that. All these things mold you to make you who you are. It's like Ghanaians don't go, I'm half Ashanti, or I'm half Fanti. You don't. It's just, I'm Ghanaian because those things melt, or I'm just Kofi, or I'm just Adjoa. And I know a lot of people sometimes think, mixed race people, they must be confused or strange, or they don't know really where they belong, but that's not the case, because most people nowadays are anyway a mixture of different cultures. So it's just how you put those things together and you become who you are. So it's very normal. I mean, obviously we have 4 kids in the family, and you see the different personalities, and you see that some of us have more Swiss mentalities and others have more Ghanaian mentalities, or we pick and choose as and when the situation arises. You know what I mean? And but it just it makes you more open-minded to come from different cultures and be exposed to different things. It makes you more resilient, and I think also more tolerant of different types of people.
I think your parents did very well.
Thank you.
Because I begged my dad, can I please just live in Ghana? And he never allowed.
Our dad didn't have an option.
We lived here. I mean, my dad set up a company here. He started a furniture company, then went into construction, then was exporting household products like the cutting boards, the wooden cutting boards and stuff to Switzerland. So, very entrepreneurial, but he loved Ghana, and he passed away and was buried in Ghana because he didn't want to be buried in Switzerland.
Yeah.
He said Ghana was his home and that was it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, I mean, in that term, I mean, every environment is very different growing up. And I think as much as a lot of people would assume that you have a fair exposure to both cultures and you must be confused about who you are. I don't think we ever felt like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that my dad valued the opportunities that Ghana gave him, it's almost ingrained to want to come back and do something here, or wanting to represent the culture. And in many ways, I have this conversation with my sister all the time where, for me, I think there is a lack of promotion of our culture and representation in the right way. The one thing I try to avoid is becoming trade, what do you call it? Like a boho market brand, because that's the image that people have of anything that comes out of the continent. And that's not the reality. The culture is not only African, but it's also very inclusive and it's very mixed. And that's our background as well. So for me, growing up, as much as I had exposure to two cultures, I would say the fact that my dad embraced the Ghanaian culture and we knew we were being raised in Ghana. And my dad's business employed at the time 300 Ghanaians, and these were artisans. Our value is for what Ghana can produce and what Ghana represents in the culture as well. So you see this a lot in the way our storytelling is done as well.
And I think it also adds to our mentality because at the end of the day, our dad didn't come here to just work for a company and go away, but he came to bring value to the products. He was part of the society trying to produce something out of Ghana. And that's what we've always done, always produce something with our own hands or with our own minds, incorporating the culture or the environment. And it's not just, okay, take what you can out of it and move on, and I think a lot of times that is the problem, that everybody comes to just grab or take and leaves nothing behind. Or leaves it worse than what they found. And the point is to put it back because this is the only place we have, I mean, yes, we're mixed. We can live there, we can live here, but at the end of the day, we want to develop Ghana so that it's better for the generations to come and for our kids to have a place to come back to and not just take advantage of it and then it dies out and there's nothing left. And I think that also feeds into the whole sustainability idea because you want to leave something behind for the next generation. You don't just want to put all the plastics in there and just waste the environment and then, well, I've had my share and I'm gone, but you're rather thinking of how can we make it better for the next ones coming? Because we've already done enough damage.
And there's a big cultural neutralization that is going on that has been happening since I think I was a kid, where there's an influx of imagery from the West and culture from the West. I mean, you go and pick up a toy for a child, it has Disney all over it, which is okay because it's part of a cultural movement or a time frame. But for me, it's also valuable to know that my kids are picking up things that represent them and it represents their grandmother and it represents generations before and it represents an appreciation for what we can do and we've been doing. So as much as there is so much importation, I don't want a generation growing up thinking that that's normal and neutralizing their culture and not understanding the value behind it. So this is what we proactively try to do with the imagery that goes on our products as well.
So could I say that in a way you're carrying on your dad's legacy?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
On a different level.
Yeah, definitely.
We always have to think about the next level.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for sure.
Would you say he'd be proud of you when he's looking now?
Inshallah.
Okay.
Inshallah.
So, basically, you could have lived anywhere in the world, both of you.
Yes.
Why did you choose to come back to Ghana and raise your family here?
Again, very different answers you're gonna get.
Let's hear it.
I got married. I'm stuck in Ghana. Yeah, my husband is Ghanaian.
Okay.
I never thought that I'd ever live in Ghana. Even as a kid, I was always like, yeah, I'll leave Ghana, I'll go and travel and see the world, and I'll live in Switzerland. And, my idea was never to live in Ghana. Then I met my husband, and he works here, he lives here, and I was like, okay, now we're here, and there were a lot of things coming back and living here that I found difficult to deal with. Because, when you live outside, everything is like regulated, there's an order, there's a structure. Even if you want to get something changed or you want to do an adjustment to your house, there's a way to go about it. And in Ghana, it's like, just, do what you want to do until somebody tells you can't. Yeah. Exactly. So, and I mean, even with the workers, sometimes they'll come and do something, then it creates a bigger problem that just is simple. And you're like, no, but it's just this, and I understood the technicalities of what people wanted to do. So I don't understand, why can't you just do it, So I struggled a lot with those type of things, and even though I grew up in Ghana, but yeah, so for me, that's taken a long time. Definitely I've appreciated a lot of things, but I struggled with a lot of things living here. Yeah, but I think but I think also as you get older and you see your kids growing up and see all the possibilities and the fact that they have the freedom to, for me right now, the freedom is very intense because I homeschool. So the choice to be able to do that here and to be able to take them out and not have them in school, I think that is very much appreciated right now. Because I know in many other countries in the world, it's now being outlawed, it's not allowed. So that has brought a different level of appreciation, definitely. Maybe not as many museums. Maybe we still have to work on that. But we're getting there.
It's completely different. Okay. Like I said, Ghana is my norm. It's my home. It's the only place I've ever felt at home. There was no question in my mind once I had an opportunity, because for me, leaving at 19, the goal was to come back. So when the opportunity presented itself, I took it and I ran as fast as I could. And for me, there's a lot of things I appreciate about Ghana. I know there's a lot of things that we're not yet at that point. And in many respects too, sometimes I think it's okay that we're not at that point. And this is where our freedom arises from and where our creativity arises from. So I had a harder time settling into a Western society, especially because of the control and lack of society, the lack of knowing your neighbor and the lack of somebody caring about what happens to you and your children. And for me, it was very isolating because you can imagine at 19, my whole perception of how a village raises a child and, it was completely questioned in the West. Yeah. So for me, it was always the end goal to be here. And I feel like when you create something here, you have more of a social impact than you would in the West. Whereas in the West, a lot of the time it's about egoism, like making income so that you can live the way you want to. And everybody lives like that. So you don't have to look out for one another. Whereas here, you have a social responsibility and it can feel very heavy, but it's also very satisfying to know that you are leaving something behind as well. And I want my kids to be raised with that mentality as well, not to carry everything on themselves, but to know that like you live for more than just yourself, So, I mean, look, we all complain. There's all hardship here, but I think we can also appreciate the amount of freedom we have and the amount of society we have. And for me, I mean, everybody needs to outweigh it and know where they feel at home. But for me, Ghana's never undoubtedly been home. So,
but I think that's also, I mean, everybody knows when you're in the West, you're basically just a hamster in a hamster wheel. You know what I mean? You're just helping society to move on. Are you really having that kind of an impact to change the world? But living here, you feel like you can do something and you can change the world. I remember my son always used to tell me, Mom, you can't solve every person's problem. Why do you put so much energy into stuff? It's like you'll do it and it will just, fall apart. I said, the point is to try. To be in the motion to try. Maybe the next person coming can build on that. But if we never try and we never set the pace, nothing is going to change, But it can feel very frustrating. But I think also just even our explanation of how we feel in different environments can tell you that we have different personalities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because her and I think it also adds to the brand that we both are from different generations.
For what we want as well.
Yes, exactly. We are from different generations. We have different perceptions, and I think it helps to make it a more well-rounded brand.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in the company in, let's say, 5 to 10 years? Would you still be in Ghana? Would you still
100%.
produce in Ghana?
Yep.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
No China here.
No China here. No. You know what? There's always a temptation to pick the easier route. But I think we know why we started the brand. And this year was also about sitting down and saying, why did we start the brand? And have we gone off in a trajectory that is away from where we started? So we're constantly having to reevaluate in order to know what direction we're going. So I'd say, I mean, everybody wants it to be successful, a household name.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, sitting down every year or every quarter to reevaluate, I don't know in what direction we are going. Hopefully we stay true to what we started out with, and we can continue that. For me, the measure of success is how our kids react to our products. That's the measure of success. I bring home a product and my daughter is even willing to break the piggy bank and pay for it, and then I know, for example, I'm creating what we set out to create, things that our kids would be happy with and other kids and families would be happy with. So I hope in 5 years we're making families very happy, and people have a piece of Ghanaian culture in their households. So,
and I think for me too, I mean, I was away initially when we had the idea. Bella was living in Switzerland. Then I came to join her in Switzerland. Then she moved back to Ghana. And now I've come back. So I think with both our efforts, we're definitely going to move, inshallah, we're going to move forward. Very stable, being consistent. And I think we have so many ideas, but it's just now to edit and streamline everything. And definitely this year we are putting in all the effort because there's 2 of us now.
Yeah.
And I also think for me, measure of success is, like the first time I now interacted with the customers because I was back is when we did the pop-up exhibition at the Mix. And to see people coming and buying and the smiles and the inspiration, and they felt so excited about the products. And I was like, that's really good, and also the fact that some people came and like, for instance, for people to meet the people behind the brand and be excited about the fact that they're getting to know you and trying to understand the product and not just buy another product to put in their house, but to buy it because they're interested in what it is that we're doing. Or for instance, some German ladies came and they wanted to buy it. And I mean, you can usually tell the touristy kind of people that have already been to art center and whatnot. And then they came and they were totally excited about the fact that I spoke to them in German. And they were like, oh, so what's the backstory? And then they were like, oh yeah, this would be a great story to go and tell people back home in Germany. And we didn't just come and go to the markets and finish, but we actually came and we saw, and they can see that our products would fit in their homes. It's not something you brought from Africa, like a tourist attraction, put on the table and said, now I went to Africa. It's something that will fit in your house for generations. Like things that my dad brought from Switzerland and he had it for a long time. And now I can tell my kids and say, he brought it from this and this village and it was that and that. It's the same way people now can bring back products from Ghana and have it in their family. And the kids will be like, when did you buy this? This has been part of our home for a long time. And then they can say, oh, it was in Ghana, and maybe raise interest even for their kids to want to come back to Ghana and see, So I think, we're hoping to bring products that are timeless, that will outlast a trend.
But most of all, functional and educational. Because this is also a part of sustainability, like not just buying one thing for one solution, but it being multifaceted. So, for example, we have tote bags and we have drawstring bags, and initially, when people would look at them, they'd be like, oh, it's cute, but so. And then I would say, no, I mean, you can take this tote bag to the beach. You can take this tote bag to school. It's multifunctional. It can solve a lot of different things. And then as well, the drawstrings, for example, it people, when I would explain it, they would understand, oh, okay, so I can swap it out for the plastic. But then Christmas time came around and I showed people that you could use it as packaging that you don't throw away. So for me, for us, it's very important that whatever we're producing is not only sustainably produced, or economically sustainable, but it's also pushing a lifestyle to be more sustainable. So for me, this is where I see the future, that we start thinking a little bit more about lifestyle choices and consumers' choices that influence the rest of the world, not just our household. So, and also then you pick it up and then you see a bufferzella on it, and that storytelling, about the informal sector, and there's a conversation to be had. So multiple layers of
But I think another thing too that I found very funny, when I moved to Switzerland, Bella was already in the sustainable thing and zero waste and plastic. And I remember moving in and she's like, yeah, no, I don't do plastics in my house. And I was thinking, oh my God, what's this craziness? How can you exist like this? Like, this is just too much stress. And then I was like, okay, let me try it. So I gave it a try. And then she goes to the butcher with her glass container. And I'm like, now she's crazy. Like, who is going to give her meat in a glass container? And the butcher was like, no, because of hygiene reasons. And like, she was doing all these things. And I was like, okay, I can't take this to this level. I'm not like this. Like, I'm somebody, if I do something, I want to do it well and be very like structured and organized. But I was like, okay, this girl is just too much. And then eventually I realized that no, we can be sustainable in other ways. So I'm not somebody that, I mean, I'm not a zero waster. I'm not somebody that will tell you I don't have plastic in my home, but I think of it in a more conscious way when I'm buying things. And I think, is this plastic thing going to be longer in the house? Is it going to be used multiple times rather than just throwing it away? Even the plastic straws, sometimes I'm like, guys, no plastic straws and stuff. And my husband's like, like, it's not a big deal. But it has really, out of that, a lot of conversations have arisen, and you start looking to make more conscious decisions about your life and things that have a long-term impact. So I know sometimes people scare away from the whole thing when you say sustainability and they think it's a trend and people feel overwhelmed. But I think if I can do the little bit that I can, everybody can. And it amounts to something, So yeah, we're trying.
And every one of our siblings is like this. Our parents were like that too. We're extremists. I'll be very honest. Like, it's the easiest way to explain it. Like, either we do something or we don't do it. Either we believe in something or we don't believe in it. And for me, a lot of times when I encounter something new that I can see is aligning with how I want to live a life, I do it to extreme, and then it takes some time to adjust for it to become normal habits, and it's eased up again on me. So in many ways, like, for example, in the beginning, I hadn't understood, like, for example, sustainability is not only about plastic. It's also about what carries over. So if you were to get like natural rubber, it's a form of plastic, but it's natural, biodegrades. And also there's certain things in your household you want to outlive, or you want it to sustain longer than a natural material would. So in many ways, like what we're doing with Challe, with the sustainable items, is we're trying to pick biodegradable materials, not only like sustainably sourced. This is also a big concept that people have to understand. But for me, it's very valuable when I go into town and I see somebody actually holding our tote bag and they're loving on it. And versus I see somebody picking up a plastic bag, not thinking that it really exists, using it and then disposing of it and not understanding how far it goes. And there's many times I've taken our drawstrings into the market, and in the beginning, it almost felt like people are fighting you, but it's a lack of understanding. And it was the same thing in the West. When the zero waste movement started in Switzerland, a lot of people thought, oh, you people are crazy,
too much.
And it's too much. But then now, big stores like Migros, for example, which is like, like a van, I don't know what it's called in Holland.
What does it
like
sell?
A grocery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now they're adopting those things because they realize that there's a growing consciousness in and around it.
They even have specialized shops now for the zero waste and,
and
because they know there's money now to be made in that.
There was a time where us being active about a movement like this was considered crazy. So a lot of times when you decide to produce something that's a little bit more forward thinking, it can be approached as extra, you know, until people start changing the mentality. So a lot of times our products, you can't just sell it like that. It's a conversation you have to have with somebody. And I'm happy to have those conversations because a little bit more consciousness is introduced into their lives.
Okay. We learned a lot today. Thank you so much for educating us. And I wish you all the best with the brand.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to the channel and I'll put all the information down below. I hope you also get a Challe sister in your house. See you in the next one. Bye.